I'm Courtney. Welcome to our podcast, On and Off the Table.
We're two massage therapists talking real life and no topic is off the table. Join us every Wednesday for a new episode. Well, hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Today, our guest, Mallory Everhart. We're so excited for you to be here. You wear many hats, and I don't want to get it wrong, so if you could explain a little bit about your many hats, I would appreciate it.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So I am a spiritual director, a Reiki expert, and herbalist, and also I happen to be a pastor. So I do a lot of just like healing and space holding work with basically whoever needs it, whoever crosses my path and decides that I am the companion that they want for this chapter in their life. And whether that's in a religious or spiritual context or more of like a health support context with herbalism, whoever needs the help, I'm kind of here and have a multi-tool, a
Toolbox?
Yeah, multi-tool. Yeah, I'm a multi-tool. There's a toolbox,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. It's a way to serve so many different people who really, really need it.
We just met a few minutes ago. How do you and Annie know each other?
Annie's my massage therapist.
Okay.
And we have like an hour and a half together to talk about the real stuff. Like,
it's so good. I was like, you were the first person that I wanted to come on as a guest, and I'm so glad that it's finally happened.
happening.
Yeah. She was like, Mallory. Like, I've been hearing your name since like the
dawn of time.
Yeah. Very cool. I wanted to just kind of before we dive in, I would love for you to paint a picture for our listeners of what we're here to talk about today, which is like what you do, spiritual direction, what that actually is, and how do you describe what you do, and what does it look like when someone comes to you for that kind of support?
Sure. Yeah. The loving like shorthand I use to like help people sort of understand what this work is it's my God therapist, right? So I have a spiritual director and have since well before I became one. And so it's someone that you can talk with about like the unfolding of your story, and someone who is unequivocally on your side, who sees you, who it's meant to be a long-term relationship. So who has seen you through multiple chapters of your story and can reflect back, hey, this is tied to that part of, this theme, it keeps coming up for you. And where do you find something that's sacred that you can hang on to? Or what is it that gives you peace? Or what's that gives you connection to something larger than yourself? And someone who's really just holding that container for you as you are telling your story, being seen and being reflected back to, and being asked, probing, possibly personal questions.
Yeah.
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 How long have you been in this work?
So I became a spiritual director in 2022. I was ordained in 2021, but I've been in school or training to do this work since 2016.
Nice.
So 9 years. That's
Wow.
That's what that math works out to.
Yeah.
I love that you knew that off the bat, because I was like, oh, don't ask me.
Yeah.
Well, they're 25 now. So yeah.
Nice. So like what can I ask what led you into this path of work?
Yeah, goodness. So I was working in nursing homes, and I was, I grew up in conservative Christianity. I am not a conservative Christian anymore. That's just like I'm still
like
Christian.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. When you said, I feel like pastor with an asterisk, like whatever you think that means,
It's not.
Just ask me questions, right?
Yeah.
But I had left the conservative church. I was very wounded at the time, but I was working in an Alzheimer's and dementia unit, and got to experience like spirituality or faith in this like the simplest forms, because someone isn't asking like deep theological questions, but they know like all the old hymns and they all know all the old prayers, and coming together. Music is this really fascinating thing with folks who have memory loss, because it operates from a different side of our brain than speech does. And so someone who's nonverbal may still know all of the words to all the old hymns. And so Betty wasn't asking, like big theological questions. She just wanted to know that like that she belonged somewhere and that God still loved her. And I was like, okay, I can't do like all the rest of that, but I can be with Betty, right?
Yeah.
And and it healed something in me because I grew up with all of those same songs, like, and obviously knew all the prayers and things like that. But what really sent me on a spiritual path as opposed to a religious path, like they are connected, but they are not the same. Was I was at the bedside of someone who died, and I watched their soul leave, and I'm like, oh, there is something bigger going on here, and I want to know what that is. And that was when I took my first like class in Reiki, because I was like, okay, like what is energy? How does that work? How does it correspond with like what our soul may or may not be? And I was like, I experienced something, and I want to know what it was. And religion didn't have the answers I was looking for, so I sort of also alongside set out on a very diverse spiritual path. That was kind of that's the origin story.
Are you able to describe that experience? Like when you say you watched their soul leave their body, I feel like I know what you're saying, but for anyone who maybe is confused about that sentence.
There is something that when someone is alive, there is something that animates them, right? Like, and at the moment that this person died, it was very, very clear that she was not in her body anymore. And for whatever reason, it wasn't like I didn't like see it, but I was able to track it, and I guess it was visual, but I watched it move, like, and was able to do that. And there's like certain like superstitions when you work in healthcare, especially if you work in like especially night shift, like talk to night shift nurses, they know what's up.
Yeah, they do.
And right
Yeah, they're the coolest.
And whether that's in a hospital or a nursing home, like night shifts have seen some shit.
Yes.
And like you're like, I was like 22, right? Like I didn't know, but I knew that I was supposed to open the window. Like you are supposed to open the window so that soul can leave. Otherwise, night shift's gonna be real mad at you because they're gonna have, they're
gonna be haunted.
Exactly, right? Because you're like setting them up for failure, and they're like, do not miss this. This is important, right? And so whether that's a ritual or like whatever, however you make sense of that, like I tracked the thing leave that person's body, and then I was like, I'm gonna go open this window because I believe the night shift nurses, and now I really believe the night shift nurses.
Wow, so cool. Was that the first time you've encountered like that type of experience, I guess, like seeing something with a spirit, soul, whatever you want to say?
Yeah, like my religious background when I was growing up didn't really have a framework for it. And so I've tried to go back and think, like, were there other moments? And I generally don't know, because like a lot of people who kind of grew up in conservative Christianity, we were really taught to mistrust our intuition, and we were really taught to mistrust our bodies. So if I thought that I was having a spiritual experience, literally, like I had teachers and professors and people be like, are you sure it's not indigestion? Right? And I'm like, what? Okay. Oh, don't even get me started about like, I will be here. You will be here forever if I start talking about my, like how I grew up.
We'll already plan to bring you back. I'm so
part 2. Right? I mean, because the body is so important, and intuition like sits in our body. And so to be like totally divorced from it is just like such a disservice to the human experience. And that is basically a factory for dissociation. Yeah. And in this really not great way. So I don't know, right? Like, because I mistrust a lot of my perceptions, but this is the one where I know that something that I did not know how to explain happened, and I was present for it.
Kind of going back to the window thing. In 2018, my grandmother was put in hospice. She was there for 10 days, which she held on so long. I was like, we called her Honey. I was like, Honey, like, it's okay to go. But she was just like a tough bitch.
She's like, on my own time. You will not be telling me when it is time. I will decide.
Yeah. And like, she didn't have IVs, like, maybe she did, actually. I'm not sure. But my mom and I, this was in Tucson, Arizona, and my mom and I were like sleeping there basically, just to like be with her and provide her like comfort and whatnot. And that was a rough time, but it was at a really beautiful hospice place, and they had kind of like a courtyard area that was just done up beautifully with like benches and things, and you could just kind of go and sit. And right next door, they I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they housed like horses, like they kept horses there.
Like equine therapy?
Yeah, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, it was kind of attached, like the courtyard, and then they had the gates to the horses there. And so one morning went out to like just sit, because man, just being with someone when they're passing, there's smells, there's sounds, there's a lot of really unpleasant things. Yeah. So I go out to the courtyard, and there were windows to some of the rooms, and there was a horse standing there with looking into the window. And I was like, excuse me, like, is somebody gonna get, like, whose horse is this?
Whose horse is this?
Yeah. It almost felt very surreal, like a spiritual experience, because I am just like there's nobody around. I don't know. So anyway, I just kind of sat there and with the horse, and he just stood there looking in the window. And when I made my way back in, I went up to the nurse's station. I was like, there's a horse just like standing out there. And she said something along the lines of like, horses are really intuitive, and they know when someone's about to pass. And so that just came to mind with like the window, and like it just knew that person was just not going to be here for very long. And I just, that whole time I was just like, where am I? Like, what's going on? This? It was really a profound, like transformational time in my life. I considered like death doula-ing, and all the family was like really distraught, and all I could do was just be really super present with like that, you know, her soul and like just the death of it all. And it was like I was spiritually grieving in like real time or something, but it wasn't like I was just the most present I've ever been in my entire life. Like it was, but yeah, so, but that window was open, and that horse was just standing there. It was the wildest. Horses are so cool, man.
They're really neat.
Yeah.
Pets in general, like animals. So my mom had this like Chihuahua Min Pin mix. So my mom died in 2019, and I cared for her in my home with in-home hospice. And, you know, like, little dogs have like little man syndrome, right? Like I had a like 95-pound like lab pit mix that was like burly and huge, but like wouldn't hurt a fly.
Baby.
Yeah, just the biggest baby. Like I loved him, Tony. But then she had this dog Bolt, who was just a tiny terror, and he would just like fuck you up, right? Like and he was so protective of my mom. And he would like fight Tony, and I'm like, Tony is 10 times your size, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
But when my mom was like in her final days, he just like curled up with her, and he did not leave her side. And then literally as soon as she passed, him and Tony were fine. Like this was his person, and he was going to protect her, but he knew when she was gone. And then he became my tiny terror for like 5 years after that, which was, you know.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, pets really,
they know.
Like animals know. They're in tune with something that most humans are not.
Yeah, for sure. So neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up a Q, and we can do an A. So with your job and relating to massage therapy, because it will, are there things people often get wrong when trying to support clients through difficult experiences? So is there something is there a way that massage therapists, body workers, is there a way to better support someone when they're going through something challenging?
One thing I would say is know your own somatic experience.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Like when you are, so in the form of like pastoral and spiritual care that I was trained in, I talked about kind of being a floating head, right? Like that, you know, that I'd come out of the dissociation factory. And one of the teachers was like, you know, you really have to feel like in your own body how you're being affected by the things that the other person is saying. And I had not yet quit drinking. I'm 8 years sober now.
Nice.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. But I had not yet at that time because it was September 2016. So I got sober in December 2016 because I was like, oh, I need to probably not just drink my way through whatever's happening. And that's continued to be a good plan.
Yep.
But I was like, is she just like really good at this? Because she's like, oh yeah, this raised my blood pressure and then this tensed my shoulder and all this. And I'm like, I don't even know I have feet. Like, like what is this?
You're like, there are 10 toes down there somewhere. I know.
I'm not standing on business right now, though.
No, I'm like sitting down wondering if I'm broken, right? And I'm like, well, I'm like, you know, there were reasons for that I have since like worked with like a somatic therapist, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I do have a body and you know, can be in relationship with it now, but I wasn't able to at that point. But it's such a profound insight, right? Because there are things that are living in our own bodies that when we hear something from a client and, you know, and you're there with them in real intimate space for an hour and a half, and then there's some people who just really need to be seen, and it may be about touch or actually massage, but so much more it's about the interpersonal connection. And also you don't have to take all of it on. Like you are allowed to set a boundary and say, you know, this is actually really uncomfortable for me to witness or to be with, and knowing when you are reaching your point of overwhelm, because and tapping into your own somatic experience to be able to do that. Like just because someone wants your care in a different way than how you are rendering it doesn't mean you actually have to give it to them. And I think giving people permission to say, you know, this is my role and that's actually not. Turns out I have a friend who can do that with you and that's not me, right? Like, you know, like I think those of us who have a heart for healing and service feel really bad setting those kinds of boundaries because you know that the need is there. You're like, man, this person is so lonely and they're just going to talk at me for this whole time. But you also have everything that you're bringing into your massage room too. And, you know, and if you're like, I just want this to be a quiet 90-minute massage where neither of us say a word, right? You know, because that's what your body needed. Like that matters. The other thing, and this is like a really interesting thing because I think like we have like traversed into friendship,
yes,
right?
For sure,
I'm like,
yes.
Give me the tea about what's going on in your life. Like, how's this happening? Right? Like, I genuinely enjoy like every like 5 or 6 weeks being like, Henny, give me the updates, right?
Same, same.
Right? Like, yeah, like it's like we don't see each other for a month, and it's like, what happened last
like,
on Mount?
By the way, so much has happened. Are you ready to listen?
right. And so in that space, it's like there's this equal sharing, and it's like, oh, this does remind me of a story, or that, you know, that kind of thing. But one of the things that I think just like people who don't hold space or aren't like kind of trained to hold space do is they think that the way to create a connection with somebody is to say, oh, me too, and then tell a story about how that happened in their own life. And so if you are mindfully engaging with like, I'm holding space for this person, that's a different thing than like relating on a friendship level, or and what actually helps people feel seen is to say things like, well, what I hear you saying is this, or am I understanding this correctly? Like that almost kind of what you do when you're triaging, right? Like when you're checking for that kind of understanding, it's sort of like emotional spiritual triage, like at the beginning of a session.
I've never thought about it that way before. Yeah, that's really like when you're doing your consult, you're just making it about them. You're checking in. What about this? What about that? And so, I like that connection. Yeah.
And it's like, because when someone is looking for care, that can feel really shutting down. If, you know, like if you were, you know, doing a consult and you're like, oh yeah, I've got shoulder problems too.
Right. Right. That would be weird.
Yeah. And so if you are holding space for them and that's the intention that you're doing, the same kind of of like asking questions, seeking understanding, reflecting back what you heard, you know, those are the same exact tools that you would use if you're kind of verbally holding space for somebody.
I also really like how Tiffany shared just saying thank you for sharing that. Like to me, I'm like, wow, that's huge. Like if someone, I don't know, I have recently had a client talking about their mom passing away very recently, and instead of like, I don't want to say I'm sorry, because like that is the most bullshit thing I think you can say, and like no one's meaning it in the way that it's coming out. Like it's just a very trained, conditioned thing, because of course we're sorry, but like I'm like, oh, like, thank you for sharing that. Like that's a really hard thing that you're going through. Thank you for letting me know. So I think that's another good one.
Yeah, one that I use is thank you for trusting me with that. Right, because it is an act of trust. Like if someone is feeling vulnerable and is trusting you with this information, like, you know, then naming like that was a risk that you took to share this information with me.
Totally.
Yeah, an act of like vulnerability that takes effort and
courage.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So you're basically, I'm like, let me reflect back to what you just said.
Yeah, there you go.
We're practicing in real time.
Yeah, exactly. Like no time like the present.
So you're saying like one of the things that we could do wrong as body workers is to kind of make it about us and not hold space in the way of like kind of keeping, like holding that container for them. Yeah. And also like the flip side of that is that you are not obligated to actually hold that particular type of container. So it's both and, right? Like knowing what you and your practice and your energy level and what you're even able to do that day, like feels like, mindfully making that choice as opposed to kind of being, I've gotten the sense that massage therapists kind of like get dragged into this kind of a situation. Like, you know, like you're like, oh, hello, I'm here to do like physical things to your body. And then you're like, and I'm rendering a significant amount of emotional care. The wildest thing though, is at one point I had a massage therapist who I dearly loved. He was very good at what he did. And also I was giving him spiritual care on the table. And I'm like, buddy, I know things are hard and I know I'm an empathetic person, but this is a role reversal here. Like, in a way that felt like, oh, you were also very lonely, right? And him not having that kind of level of self-reflection to know about the type of space he was taking up, like in a time that I was like, but this is care for me,
right?
Like,
I'm coming here to see you. I'm paying you.
Yeah. And we can trade. Like I can sit with you for an hour and then you can work on my body for an hour and that would be great. Like, but this is not that. Like,
I think it can be kind of hard sometimes when you have that connection over time with like you were talking about, you guys have crossed over into like the friend area, that like, you kind of start to get comfortable with, you know, talking about your life if they ask, you know, and I can see how that could be a hard, like a gray area maybe sometimes where, and I notice myself checking in pretty regularly, like, okay, chill out, like, you know, and one of my go-tos is, but just bringing it back to the body, it's kind of like a reset button, like, oh yeah, like let's kind of, why are we here? And break that cycle a little bit. So
that is definitely something I have struggled with, especially going through my breakup. I was like, all right, reel it in. This is not about me. But it's like with clients who, like you and I, like we've reached the friendship level, but there were definitely certain sessions where I was like, oh my God, I just talked so much. Like, oh my God.
Well, and it's like an energy thing, right? Like I do not feel that way about us,
Right.
like that relationship,
Right.
because like Lord knows you heard about my breakup too, right? Like, this man in England did some shit. I'm like,
And I was like, girl, tell me all about it.
right.
Like, is this pressure okay while you're talking?
Yeah,
right. It's like, I'm storing it in my shoulders because I want to pop off, right? Whatever, and like, but there wasn't that reciprocity with this other, and I think there's really significant subtleties, right? Like, and I think like when you do care work, like, so there's an interesting thing here. When I was a chaplain and I was doing like hospice chaplaincy, right? I lived in fear that they would Google me. I did fear that. No one ever did, because I don't know that they would let me in their home if they knew, especially in Colorado Springs. But there was like, I'm there for 45 minutes every 2 weeks, and they don't have another context for me, right? Like there is, and it's easier because it's more cut and dried to be like, I am here for this thing,
Right.
and we don't have a relationship, and so I can be friendly, but we have there's this guy called Dykstra who in spiritual care, it's called like Images of Pastoral Care. There's this thing called like the intimate stranger, right? You are showing up in the most intimate parts of their life, and like there are ones that you like do fall in love with, like they tell you not to have favorites. Everyone actually has favorites.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Like, but in a similar way with massage therapy, it's like people are like just like naked, right? Like, and when it's like the first couple of sessions, like they don't know you.
It's like dating. It really, like,
interesting.
To me,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like getting to know someone dating. Like,
I'm like, lights on or lights off?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
but no, like, I've always felt like that a first session, I'm like, this is like a first date. Like, we're really getting to know each other.
Sure.
Things might be a little bit awkward if I'm not like communicating as well as I know that I need to
Sure.
check in. Like, people might not feel comfortable to say like, hey, I actually need this or whatever it is. So to me, the first couple sessions are like the first couple dates.
Yeah. Well, and then like being in a parish, like in a church, right? They have a much larger context for me because I'm, leading classes or I'm, I'm doing other things, and it's more of a community thing. And so the boundaries are like much less like clear, right? There's like in these other places, it's like, okay, this is my role and I can be done with it. But when you do like have a relational piece to the work that you do that is outside of the like the context or the container that you have,
Right.
like it really can be really complicated to be like, what is the right, like the right distance, right? That's safe for you and safe for me. But I think when we think about boundaries, we think of them as very binary of like, I crossed that boundary and then something's broken. But boundaries are always moving. Like they're always a negotiation, right? And so just because we crossed it at one point doesn't mean that the relationship is damaged necessarily. It just means we have to like check in, like you said, check in with yourself and be like, that didn't feel like it was in my integrity, whether or not the other person noticed or not or cared or not,
Right.
but that didn't feel like the kind of space I want to hold, and you also have that agency over that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great advice.
Yeah. What other questions do we have?
We have so many good questions that you.
There were a lot. Yeah.
I wrote down 3 and then she responded with another 3 in the way. I think I was also just busy, and the way I took it, I was like, wait, did you just reword my questions? I was like, I don't care if you did, because like the way she eloquently worded everything, I was just like, blah, 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 like real quick. And I was like, wait, did you reword it to make it sound better? Because like, please, thank you for doing that if that was the case. But
Yeah, I think so. I was like, what are we talking with Mallory about? And she was like, this. And I was like, okay, what are your questions? And she was like, this. And I was like, okay, well, within that context, like, I can only go so much deeper. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I think we had kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of a touchier subject with clients who, and I don't know, like, in what realm you've worked with this specifically, but clients who come to you and you see like signs of abuse and those types of things, because you know, that's definitely something that comes up in the massage world for sure. And so, yeah, I guess like if we're working with clients that are experiencing abuse, what would be the things that you would notice that would kind of tip you off into kind of recognizing that's going on, I guess. Yeah.
And I think like how to navigate that conversation. Look, I was talking with my mom about this, like, aren't we not liable, that's not the word, but
mandatory
like
reporters.
yeah
I actually meant to look that up. I'm not sure.
It feels like something that would be within, I don't know.
I don't ever remember that coming up as like now I know, you know, like I am that a mandatory reporter, but yeah, I don't know. It probably varies.
Yeah.
And in the state of Colorado, there are actually only 2 categories of mandatory reporting. There's kids, and then there's at-risk adults, and adults over, I think, it used to be the age of 70. I think it's maybe down to 60. But I haven't looked at these regs for a little while, but when I was working in social services and nursing homes, this came up a lot. And so mandatory reporting is specifically about those things, or if someone is a danger to themselves or another person.
Okay.
And so you are not obligated to, you know, unless someone is at risk and you're seeing like those kinds of signs.
Gotcha.
As far as I am aware, this is not legal advice. You know, just disclaimer, right? But my understanding of those regs is that. And so, you know, signs of abuse and neglect are usually for either like kids under the age of 18 or at-risk adults. And then at-risk adults also includes folks with like a developmental disability as well, an intellectual disability. So, so that is not usually something that I have found that being like, hey, you have hand-shaped bruises on your body. Or like, that's not what I would, you know, but like that going direct like that would be usually that it's a trust building thing. And to notice what I would do in like kind of the verbal space is like, what's underneath the thing that they're saying and what is their body language saying? Because like people will be like falling apart and you can watch it in their face and then be like, I'm okay. And you're like, and then you can just like name like, hey, like I see a disconnect between what you're saying and what I'm reading in your face, right? Facial expressions and body language is huge. I remember I was on your table and you were like, is that as relaxed as that shoulder can go? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Annie. Like,
your shoulder's in your ear. I was like, I just think.
right. And you're like, relax it. And I was like, I did. Like, you know, right. Like, it's like, you weren't like, hey babe, you're guarding. Like eventually you did.
Like there's more to this.
Yeah, but you know, but you didn't go for it like right away, right? You were like,
I'm glad.
Hey, is there's like you do some self-reflection around maybe why there's a disconnect between what you think is happening and what's actually happening, right? Or what you're saying and what's actually happening. And so that was a really amazing skill that you had to be. Look at you.
Thank you.
Right. Because if you'd said something like, is your shoulder hurting you? Like I would have been like, well, I don't know. You know, like like always, but no. Like, yeah.
Right.
But we would not have had the same ability to actually unpack what was going on if you'd gone like straight in for it.
Right.
And so and creating a container of like safety and trust is with someone who's like going through something huge and that they may need help with. What will wind up happening is they'll trust you with a little bit, right? Can I trust you not to react to this or to react in a way that is what my system needs to this part and then this part. And then it's like this, you know, like it's this slow building of a container that after you have that relationship, then you can say, hey, look, these things are consistent with this is, you know, and sometimes even naming it Because sometimes, like, especially like in a toxic relationship or something, even though you know it's not stable, it might not be like, you may not have ever attached the word abuse to it. Mm-hmm. And so someone else who's like, hey, I heard this story and this story and this story from you, and I've seen this and this, after time and trust has been built, you know, I think this counts as this. Like, have you ever thought about that? Right. And so it's delicate and it's layered, I would say.
Very delicate.
Yeah. This is great advice. I'm just so enjoying this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, what has worked when you have had those conversations before?
Yeah. Very delicate. Yeah, it is a really delicate thing. You do kind of have to just start outside in. I can't think of any specific examples right now, but bringing it back to the body, like if we're kind of encroaching on a little bit of a sensitive subject, I'm like, okay, well, while we're talking about this, where are you noticing things in your body as we're talking about this? Yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I feel like it's one of those things where I'm so in the moment about what's happening. I'm like, I don't know outside of that.
We just did what we had to do.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like whatever the next right move is.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say, like, I'm thinking of one scenario in particular, where there was just a lot of venting about a partner that was very obviously abusive, and the sessions were like pretty regular, and I just remember like getting like super worked up and being like just having so many things that I wanted to say, because it just felt like very righteous anger, you know, and I care so deeply that I'm like, so just kind of first noticing that, like, and it just continued to kind of progress. And I would say, like, I tried to kind of just ask questions and induce some like self-reflection, and, you know, how do you think that's affecting you, or you know, just those types of questions, instead of saying what I wanted to say.
Right. Which is, forget that person, get out.
Yeah. And they essentially kind of came to the conclusion, thankfully, and it was not a good situation, but they thank me now, like, for being that kind of voice of reason. But even though I wasn't like, well, this is what's happening, blah, 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 it was just kind of giving them almost the space to not like process like a therapy session, but like just giving them space to like exist and be.
And to move it out of their body, like on multiple planes.
Yeah.
Like,
So I think like not letting your judgment come through is like critical, and just getting curious and hopefully getting that, for a lack of a better, like that part of their brain that's like more critical and rational, like online, because with abuse it's just
turned off.
Yeah.
I think that I'm like, as you're saying that, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm having some recollection of things that I've said. Like you said, just getting curious and like making a client feel seen and understood. I think that's like the biggest. Just start there. Just get curious. But something I think that I've asked people is like, is that something that you want to change? Like, some people don't. Some people really don't want to get out of whatever they're dealing with. And so even just asking that question, I think, is big, because they're like, you really have to think about it.
And I think too, like when you're given advice, right, or like we have a mentor or something like that, right, and someone says this is the thing you should do, that works like 3% of the time, tops, right? Tops, right? Right. So like conclusions that we come to on our own are always going to be more effective than someone telling you. And even if that person was correct, right, being able to ask the questions and not even necessarily like leading questions, because each new answer will give you a new question to ask. Like I think I'll know what a session is going to look like, and then they'll bring in something I'm like, that is okay, we'll go there, right?
We're riding the wave on this one.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so just creating that container where they are seen and they are able to explore the nuances of their story, like then they, like you said, they can come towards their own conclusions about the choices that they're going to make or not, rather than coming in and being like, leave them, right? You know, like like this is bad for you, right? Like they, like any time that any kind of like major life change has to happen, it's because they've come to the conclusion and they are willing and ready to actually implement it. And those are 3 distinct stages of change.
My somatic therapist a couple of sessions ago, I was having such a hard time like working my way back to like the end result basically, and I knew she wasn't getting frustrated, but like I needed so much help like getting to this conclusion.
Like, help me.
I was like, please help me. And she was like, okay, normally I like would let you get there. She's like, but have you ever drawn the conclusion between this and what you're saying right now? And I was like, oh my God, duh. And I was like, I really, like, in that space with her, like, we've built up that relationship. I was like, oh, I needed that so much. I would have never gotten there on my own.
Yes.
So different, but similar.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm like, to me, one of the most important parts of our work is having that be an allotted amount of time where they can be in a safe place and kind of access the other side of, you know, just safety basically. And the feeling the contrast and noticing the contrast and the difference between like, oh yeah, I felt fantastic and safe, and like I was able to like finally relax, and then directly going back home
into chaos.
Yeah. That just, so you don't have to even actively be like doing or saying anything to them directly about the abuse. It's just like your way of being sometimes.
And like giving kindness towards their bodies, right? There are some people that I work with who like apologize for having a feeling, and I just ask like, hey, you know, why are you apologizing for that? And you know, and then it's like, oh, is this not something I have to apologize for with, you know, other people who aren't the people who make me apologize for feeling a thing, right? And like, and it's just like so powerful. It's like, no, that seems like a very valid human reaction to the thing that you're going through. Like, I understand that. And they're like, whoa, that's new. Yeah. And even just that contrast can seed something that's like, oh, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
But I love it like on the somatic level, right? Like, oh, I was at peace here, and then I was here, and then now I'm here. Like,
right.
And having more somatic data, right, to be able to be like, I actually don't like when my body feels like this, and I shouldn't be habituated to that. And
I think that's a huge part of clients and their pain. It's like, okay, yes, we're going to help you as much as we can when you're on the table, and you might feel safe and all the things, and your body might get finally get a chance to relax. And it has nothing to do with, like, once you go back into those situations and those environments, it's like you're going to tighten right back up into the same pain that you're feeling, and then wonder like, why is this happening? Like, maybe not even wonder, but like you get back to it and
like, oh, something's not working.
Yeah.
I regularly give clients permission. I'm like, you don't have to be a good girl here. Like, you don't have to, you know, just be this like, oh, I'm going to help you. And they're just so, I want to be so, like, so helpful and polite and like not cause a ruckus and, you know, do these things. And I'm like, no, be like as heavy as possible. Like, you don't have to be helpful.
Don't help me move your arm.
Yeah, don't lift your knees when I try to move the bolster. Like, speak up. And I think that's such a foreign thing.
You're allowed to say, this doesn't feel good in my body.
So I encourage that quite a bit.
That's awesome.
I notice it's like a certain age group of women as well. That I'm like, no, like, just give it to me straight. And they're like, yeah, that feels great. And I'm like,
I feel like that's every woman on my table. I mean,
besides
Present
you.
company excluded.
I mean, yeah, once you get to a certain comfortability for sure. But like, I feel like every woman that has been on my table for the first like session or two, and I'm like checking in, they're like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, but is it? Because like, it doesn't feel, it literally doesn't feel like you're having a good time. Like, tell me what you need. Like, you don't have to, you're good.
And like, I have had a massage therapist in the past who was like, this is gonna suck and you just kind of have to deal with it. And I was like, this is not what I want from this experience. But like,
That's how I feel about subscap work. I'm like, I'm so
No,
sorry.
I ask for it. I'm like, get in there, Annie. I know.
Like, this is gonna suck and you are gonna have to deal with it.
Right, but he did that at the beginning of a session.
Oh.
And I had never met him before.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And I was like,
You're like, I don't consent to that.
You're like,
yeah, but I
what?
wasn't like confident enough in my own body, because this was at the beginning of my somatic work. And he was like, I'm gonna do this kind of therapy on you, and this is what it's gonna feel like. And I felt like I got brutalized. Like, I walked out of there and I was like, I feel worse.
Yeah.
But he used like power, and I think when we hold like particular like credentials, or we're you know, and I'm very aware of this, like, as a pastor too, like, there are people who just like cede me a lot of power, and they say, you're the expert, you tell me what to do. And I'm like, no, we're co-creating this space.
We've had this conversation.
I need to know what you want and need. And like, I have tools, like I said, my toolbox, it's
diverse.
There are tools, but like, I'm not gonna like sit here in judgment over your life or your body and say, this is what you have to do. Right. It's like, how did that feel in your body? I'm not inside your body. Right. But I was just like, oh boy, that was awful. And, you know, and he took my agency away right away. Basically, like, I'm unquestionable. And I was like, okay, I guess you're unquestionable. Like, I was like kind of new in like working with massage therapists. And so I just like didn't know any better. And it felt wrong and bad.
Right.
But like, and it definitely felt wrong and bad on the table. But I didn't know how to advocate for myself in that way.
You're like, yeah, this does absolutely feel terrible. Thank you.
But he already told me that. And so it's like, what ground do I have? Right. He was like, well, I'm still doing the thing, you know, whatever. Yeah. A trigger point.
Yeah.
I was like, terrible.
God.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I hate
I was
that
like,
you had to
never
experience
doing trigger
that.
point again, which is not true, but like,
Right?
yeah.
It's tough to find.
Awful.
Yeah. That made me think when you were talking about, I've heard kind of on the Reiki side of things, people and it's always been on social media when somebody's going through something really tough, and then like a Reiki person in the comments will be like, I'm doing Reiki on you right now. Then it came into my realm of somebody being like, I didn't ask you to do that. And I actually, you know, and I was like, wow, that's a really interesting concept. First of all, like long distance Reiki, like that.
But long distance Reiki is for sure a thing.
Yeah. It is.
But then to just,
But consent.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Consent to energy work. Right. And like, it's like, you know, like you can send like good vibes or whatever, but like, to do like a genuine like Reiki session on someone without them consenting, like, you are so intimate in their energy system. Like, when I am doing Reiki for someone, I know things about them that they have not told me. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, and it's still like one of the things about doing that particular kind of work where I'm like, is that really happening? Right. And then I like check it with them and they're like, yeah, this. And I'm like, what? You know,
so
like,
cool.
it blows my mind every time.
Yeah.
But the idea of doing that to some stranger on the internet and then I just like tap into their energy system and like,
Yeah.
oh, now I know these things.
Yeah.
No, absolutely the fuck not. Nope. Nope. And I won't do it on my family either. Or like when I was married, my spouse, like, because it's like, I don't want to kind of like crack your safe, right? Like if there's something that you don't want me to know or you're not ready to talk to me about, like I don't want that type of intimacy, especially if you're not consenting to it. But even with consent, like I won't do it with like people who are like super, super close to me, because it's like, that's actually not my business. Like I want you to be able to tell me about it rather than me kind of like find out through the side door.
That's a really good point.
It's so funny because I, like, total honesty, I don't know how I feel about Reiki. I'm obviously like incredibly spiritual and like definitely like highly sensitive person, like, you know, all of those things. And I've been asked if I do energy work while I'm working, because people who've worked with Reiki practitioners, like they said it just feels like I am. And I'm like, I definitely am like intuitive and like very intentional, but I'm not like actively, I wouldn't even know how to like do energy work. And so it's like on one hand, I feel like it is a thing. And then on the other hand, I'm like, it just is a weird concept to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that like sense of like when you're on a table and you know something about someone,
Yeah.
like I'm not here to defend energy work by any means.
Yeah.
Like it is its own thing. And I found my way to it, like A, by accident, and B, as a skeptic. But then I kept having those like weird, I shouldn't know that kinds of, and I'm like, I guess something's right. You know, like something's happening. You're right. You know, and it sort of is like kind of like beyond explanation in certain ways. But like that sense of just like being that close to someone and whether or not you're doing Reiki or not, like your like literal electrical field is in contact with theirs, and there's some kind of community. Sorry, I didn't mean to like clap into the mic. Like I was like, but you know, but there is some level of exchange that happens. And laying on of hands, like that's what it would be called in like the Christian tradition, has been something that people have practiced for a very, very long time. So whether or not it's like the process of Reiki or the structure of healing touch or something like that, like those are like some of the like the ways that you can get trained to do it or whatever. Like people have been touching each other to do healing forever. And it isn't always about like I'm feeling this in your fascia, right? It's like I'm feeling this in your body but not in your body, you know, like
I had some pretty insane sessions on Saturday, and I normally, like, it started out with one like pretty chatty client, like we just, for whatever, like even with our best intentions, like we just always and so I asked her, I was like, can we just like see if we can go a little deeper today, not pressure wise, just, and she was like, yeah. And afterwards she was like, I just don't know like what else to say except for like you're just fucking magical. And I was like, I felt that too. Like sometimes it feels like we like fucking like astral project while we're working. And so I'm like, what is that? But then I don't know. So I'm not asking you to explain it. I just like, I don't know what apprehension it is, but like I know there's definitely something.
When I've felt apprehension to energy work, and like, I mean, same thing, I'm really intuitive and all the things, and I feel like we definitely do a version of energy work just in our job. It's just not like, I feel like it's all energy work, and the umbrella's huge. I forgot where I was going with this. What did you say?
What was your aversion to it? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Someone's here.
Got it.
Was like the aversion to my own power with it. And I don't want to say it. Power feels like a gross word, but like the ability to tap in and like really do it, that like I haven't felt like a skepticism since being like, no, this is something that we all innately can do. A lot of us are turned off to it, but like, I am here, I am online with this, and that's really fucking cool that I have the ability to do that. So that was it feels like it's like a scary thing. It's like, I have a lot of power to be with someone in that way. But I don't know if that gives you any...
Yeah, it's interesting how the direction that this has taken. When I was first starting out, I had a massage therapist tell me that, like, because they're kind of trying to help you not drain all of your own energy into the person.
Absolutely.
And so she taught me to think of it as like, I am drawing energy from the sun and it's channeling through me into the client. And like, there's an endless source of energy.
Yes.
And
y'all, you're talking about Reiki.
I know.
And
I literally, I do that.
You may
like,
not know the words,
like,
but
that's it.
Absolutely how it was trained. Yeah, definitely.
I do that all the time, and I can literally feel the flow, and I can feel the direction it's going and all of that stuff. And so I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, like, this is just what's happening, but I don't call it that, I guess. But I think where I get kind of hung up is like, when you are like, I'm gonna clear your chakra, like that.
There's so much bullshit.
Not.
Okay.
Like, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No. Okay. I also I kind of want to go back a little bit because I actually fucking hate people who call themselves healers. And so at the beginning I was like, I'm a healer, and then I was like, ew.
You're like, oh, I said that.
Right? No. Like, and this is part of my herbalism training too, where it's like, we are not the healers themselves. We are midwives to healing, like that. And that's how I was taught, like, in my herbalism training, in the kind of like Celtic wisdom woman path, which has been really cool. And so it's like, there are things that get stuck, right? Whether that's like stuck, like literally in our fascia or like in our energy systems, and feeling the flow and helping, like, you know, like, but it's helping the body do its own innate healing, right? And that you can be a tool to help with that, or like a companion for that, but like, they're doing their own healing, right? And like, Reiki itself is based on the chakra system, but like, there's interesting stuff around like where our biggest nerve bundles, right? Like, they are actually, like, they do align with the chakra system. But whether or not, what I have experienced is that often when something is like blocked or something like that, it is something that we are not both somatically in touch with and emotionally in touch with. Right. And so you can read someone's energy system in like with a pendulum, right? Like, or a dowser, depending on which tradition, like how you talk about it. But it will spin one way or the other based on the magnetics, which is fascinating, right? And then doing laying on of hands to like help reset or add a little bit more zhuzh, to that space, right? Like, it will change, like it will read differently on a pendulum, which is like, there is like the skeptical part of my brain that's like, that's weird and wrong, but it's not, right? Like, I've had enough experiences to be like, oh, I put my hands on it and I did the thing, and then the thing changed. And I like, and it's like, it's all anecdotal evidence, but it is evident. Like, it's the evidence I got, right? Like, and like, the thing with healing touch is that it's a bunch of nurses who kind of repackaged energy work and then did do peer reviewed studies with it, and were able to find that there is therapeutic benefit. But where I really get allergic to like the people who call themselves healers, and I fully recognize that I did, is that like there's the ego part of it, where it's like they can't be wrong, and you are on my table, and I'm going to fix you, right? Like it is an energy, right? And you're just like, I don't actually trust you at all, right? Because if I give you that feedback, you'll tell me, like that guy did, right? Like you'll tell me that you just have to grin and bear it, or this is part of the process, or you just have to like, and then if a healer is removing agency from the person that they're trying to companion, I'm like, it's a non-starter, right? And so I like, there are, I'll say like internet personalities who like when they call themselves healer, I'm like, fuck
immediate
off.
It's like that's the gross part of spiritual, like the spiritual world, where people, that's where people like give it such a bad name, because I'm just like, oh my God, no, like that is your ego. That's strictly ego talking, and you're making all of us look bad.
Right. And I'm like, I'm actually out here trying to help people, and you're hurting people, and they come back to me to be like, or like, or they don't trust me because someone else broke it for them, and I'm just like, grr. Right. There are ways that we can companion people. That we're companioning people, and that it genuinely is healing work. But some asshole was like, I'm a healer, and didn't do the self-reflective work, and doesn't think that they can ever be wrong.
Yeah. And that it's all love and light.
Oh, God. If you're avoiding shadow, I have no time for you.
Literally, I have no time for you.
Well, and like you mentioned...
I'll love you from afar. Sending love from afar.
Yeah, like, namaste over here. Like, well, and you mentioned, like, being a death doula, right? And I have worked with like some really cool death doulas, and I've worked with some really atrocious death doulas for the same exact reason. So I spent 10 years in healthcare, mostly doing death and dying work. And the thing that you learn when you are becoming an expert in like anything is that even when you've reached expert level, you don't know anything, right? There is always something new to learn. So then like people will go through like a 20-hour training and then being like, I know everything there is to know about death work. And like,
online
sometimes, right? Or a weekend seminar at a Radisson in Denver. And it's like, it's like, oh, we are not the same. Yeah. And I wouldn't trust you within like 20 feet of a family that's actually going with this. Like it was never meant to be a credential in and of its own self.
Right.
It was a social worker who was like, if people want to specialize in this, I want to be able to, to equip people to do that. But people like come through, and I don't know where it comes from, but it becomes this like ego thing that's like, I know everything there is to know about death. And I'm like, I have attended like, mathing again, probably close to at least 100 deaths. And I don't know everything there is to know about death, right? And so it's like how
everyone dies differently.
Yes. Yeah. And you learn like some best fit lines kind of things, like, oh, I've seen some of this before, but the way it manifests like in a family is going to be different. And so I actually trained, when I was working for hospices, I would train teams to go in and be able to do specialized volunteering with families like in the last like 24 to 48 hours of a person's life, to like sit there and help them. You were talking about like there's a lot going on, right? There's gross sounds, gross smells, like, and so I would do those trainings. Like I would teach people how to do that. But what I always taught them is kind of what the theme of this whole conversation has been is ask questions, right? Like get curious. Like, yes, you have a baseline of knowledge, but you don't have to, like, you don't necessarily know what is exactly true in this moment. You have tools, but part of that intuitive space and part of that curiosity and always learning space is this the right tool for this moment? Would this actually help this family? And sometimes you're wrong, and that's its own learning thing. And okay. I've seen a bunch of like people who like went through the death doula training, like go like actually attend their first death, and they're like just like, what just happened to me? Because their ego got popped and they realized how actually unprepared for that work they were. And there has been more than one person who has called me and been like, hey, so I'm in over my head and you're the person I actually know who actually knows how to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. Like, and so there's something wrong with like the certification or training, I think, because this seems to be like a recurring theme where it's like, I am going to reclaim, home-based death work. And like some people are doing really, really cool work with it. And other people I'm just like, I don't actually trust you.
There's a an account on Instagram that specializes in death work. Cool. And they had made a post about like, and I don't want to go into like too much detail, but just kind of claiming like they just put death in this like little package almost, and we're like listing things. It was very like matter of fact, you know, kind of this curated thing. And a family member of mine who experienced like a super tragic loss had come across it, and it was close to the death anniversary as well. And it completely, the post, how it was packaged, dismissed her experience like completely. And she was really upset about it for like days and days and days. And we kind of like talked through it, and it just basically came down to the fact that like they didn't really know what they were talking about, and they came across like that they did. And there was a comment in there that kind of called it out. And I was like, I like replied to the comment. I was like, yeah, this is my question too. Like I just like needed to like shed some light on like, you guys don't know everything, even though you're putting information out there and like appearing that you do. It was actually like pretty harmful.
And like the content engine and like the ways that people can claim expertise, and just because they have a big following, like, you know, people assume that big following equals actually knows your shit, and it's like,
no. People pay for followers. Everything on the internet is fake.
Right. fully aware that this is going on Instagram, right? Like early parts of this conversation are, right? You know, but it's true, right? Like the age of like content creators as like a, you know, there was something similar kind of like in progressive Christian circles where someone had like never served a church, like only did one-on-one clients for like, you know, like maybe a year or two. And then they're like, I'm tired of doing one-on-one clients. I want to go into teaching. And I was like, you don't know your ass from page 8. Like, how do you think that you could like go do that? Right?
How are you
like,
going to do page 9?
Yeah. Literally. Like, you haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, like, and this person was like, not that age is always an indicator, but like this person was like under 30 and had just graduated school. And I'm like, no, baby. Like, you don't know. I still don't know. Like, there's always more for me to learn. And so it's like hard because it's counterintuitive, right? Because there are some people who have this like really polished persona, and they speak with like such clarity, and they're like, I know things. And then you actually try to put it in practice, and you're like, well, that was horseshit.
Yeah.
Right? But like, but then, you know, it's such a polished image, and the people that I actually trust are the people who are like, yeah, I have something to share, and like, and that comes from a place of strength. Like, you don't always have to like undermine like the things that you know, and also like they know learning. That they are still learning, right? And can receive that feedback, whether that's in a client, you know, a one-on-one like client caregiver dyad, or like generally speaking, because you know that person got really defensive. I'm just assuming that they like ignored that comment. Like, no, I know everything there is to know about death. And like, no one knows everything there is to know about death. Like, you have your specialties and you have your experiences, and at some point there is like, it's generative enough to share on a platform, but like not always.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. And you're like,
that's how I feel about a lot of like our work, death work. Like I don't really care about your certification. Like what have you been through in your life, and how much like experience do you have in this job? Like, I don't really care at all about your certification. Like, people have been touching each other, like you said, for forever, and it's like, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything to me that you've done all of these certifications and gone to all of these like schooling, whatever. Like,
yeah. Also life experience. Too,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Not age wise, but like, what have you been through?
Yeah. What have you gone through? Like, yeah.
And does my body feel safe with you?
Yeah.
Right? Because coming back to like, what does our body know? Right? Like, my body actually knew that guy who was like quite a few years older than me and like, you know, was claiming this authority, my body knew that I probably did not want him to do the things that he, you know, that he was doing, even though he had these credentials and was doing whatever. Right. And so like that trust in our own somatic experience of like, I feel comfortable in this space. I feel comfortable with you. I would probably let you go deeper with me, you know, and as practitioners, like being able to invest in building that trust and not expecting it right up front, you know. But I had a client who at one point, like I was genuinely not well when I was sitting with this client at that point. And so I kind of lost sight of my own ability to hold that space. But they said to me, hey, I'm feeling really defensive. Like, so they were tracking their own somatic experience. And then that was an oh shit moment for me to be like, ooh, I'm not okay to hold, you know, something happened and it was like other life stuff that I needed to attend to before I could actually hold that space and be well enough to do that. But I wrote them an email and I was like, hey, I can give you a little bit of extra context if you want it, but the answer is like, thank you for telling me that, because that is that trust and that vulnerability to be able to push back at someone who holds a certain amount of power in the space. And that actually became a healing moment for us because they were like, oh, I have the agency and they can I could receive that, right? That, you know, oh, that was feedback that I needed because I wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it's like, you have to be willing to like have an ego death every other day. Like, you know, like
all the time.
Right. Like, oh, I thought I knew. Didn't know.
No, I don't know. Don't know anything.
Or I'm not super person and can't, you know, like, you know, I can't always, show up the way that I want to, but that's not the worst thing. You know, you can come back from it, right? Like it doesn't have to break the therapy relationship.
Yeah. You can totally come back from it.
I think that concludes our time for today.
I'm like, there's so much more I want to talk about.
I'm like, let's end it on ego death.
Yeah, end it on ego death. Everyone should have multiple of them.
Twice a week.
Yeah,
at least.
Literally. Stay humble. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely have you back on because I was like, fuck, we only asked you 2 questions. We had like 6.
This is like so fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well,
we'll table this until next time.